So a common question that we get here on the channel is, what is your favorite cruise line? Now, we've traveled on 5 different cruise lines, 9 different cruise ships, and everybody wants to know, what's your favorite cruise line? What's your favorite cruise ship? And look, those are great questions, and those are questions that we try to answer, but I think the real question people should be looking at is, why do we cruise on different cruise lines? And should everybody try at least more than one cruise line during their cruising lifetime? We're going to talk about that in today's episode. We're going to break it down right after this. Hey, what's up everybody? Tony with Lido Loca. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. If you're brand new here, consider subscribing with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of our content. All right, so let's just tackle that first question. Why do we try different cruise lines? Well, it's a little bit of a complicated answer, but let me tell you the story. We went on our first cruise. I didn't really want to go on a cruise. Jenny made me go on a cruise. Made's a hard word, but she motivated me to go on my first cruise, and I had a great time. It wasn't the smoothest cruise ever. We had some mechanical difficulties. It was a little challenging cruise. It was a short cruise. We didn't really go anywhere other than Key West, but man, I came away from that experience, as crazy as it was, really connected to and enjoying cruising. And part of what came out of that first cruising experience, because of the mechanical difficulties we had on that cruise, was a future cruise credit on another cruise. It was a no-brainer. We booked another cruise, and when I came off the second cruise, we started getting these questions. Hey, do you like the Carnival Paradise better than you like the Carnival Fantasy? Did you like cruising to Cuba better than you liked cruising to Key West? And that's where it really clicked for me. There are some real criteria that comes with cruising that can help you determine whether or not you like a certain cruise line better or a cruise ship better, that kind of thing. And I started working on my criteria. I started asking myself questions like, is there entertainment different than what I've experienced so far? Is it worse? Is it better? What about the internet? I've had some interesting internet experiences on these first 2 cruises. I love to use the internet. Is there other cruise ships or cruise lines that have better internet? How about the food? Of course, food is such a big thing with cruising. Is what I've tried so far, is this the best cruise food ever, or is there other cruise food? What about the room? You know, we've stayed in a couple rooms. I wonder if the cabin's different on some other cruise line. And so I started building out a criteria of things that I liked about cruising, and it made me inquisitive as to, well, do they do it all the same across the cruise lines? Do they do it differently across the cruise lines? At that point, I wasn't even thinking about cruise ship vibe, which has become a criteria that I think about. And so for me, one of the reasons I wanted to try another cruise line is now I had all this criteria, and I didn't know if it changed ship to ship or if it changed line to line. And so the best way to do it is to try a different ship on a different line, and that was one of the motivations. And another thing that was happening at the same time is we started to see the growth of the Lido Loca cruising community through social media, through the YouTube channel, through getting to meet new people. And it kind of hit me that maybe not everybody cruises the same cruise line. So if I want this community to be big, and I want it to be vibrant, and I want to have a lot of different perspectives so that we can learn from each other, maybe we should try different cruise lines so that we could cast the net wider and we could get more people that are into cruising in general, but have their own, favorite cruise line that they could share their experiences, so that we could be better informed as a community. So couple motivations there. First is my personal motivation, my criteria, and then the second motivation was, how do we build a bigger, stronger cruising community that represents a lot of different cruise lines? That's really how we started going, okay, let's start choosing different cruise lines to try. So the second question, should everybody try a different cruise line? I say yes. I don't know if that would have been my answer a couple years ago, but I do definitely say yes. Now that I've tried 5 different cruise lines, I can tell you that every cruise line is different, and I found things in every cruise line that I like better than other cruise lines, that I like less than other cruise lines. And the reality is, nobody is going to be able to translate that to you through film, right? So we went on the Caribbean Princess, which was a very crowded, full ship, and people commented on that. Oh, I would never go on Princess because it looks so boring and it doesn't look like there's anybody on the cruise ship. And the disadvantage that people watching our videos had is I don't typically go to places where there's a crowd. I don't typically try to film a bunch of other people. I don't really try to give you the sense that something's crowded when it's crowded. And so if you're just looking at my video and saying, well, I understand the Princess cruising experience, then you really don't. And I want you to watch my video. I'm not saying don't watch my video, but I just want to say why you can get a sense, a flavor of what another cruise line is. you really don't know what it's like until you go. So if you are somebody that cruises primarily Royal Caribbean, maybe try Carnival. It's the most popular cruise line in the world. If you're somebody that cruises exclusively Carnival, try something completely different. Take your list of criteria and take that to another cruise line and see if you like it better or worse. You're really never going to be able to do that by looking at somebody else's film or listening to somebody else's experience. And I know that loyalty is an important thing. Taking 4 or 5 days of sailing, 7 days of sailing out of what you're working on from a loyalty perspective, I know that can be kind of challenging. So maybe do it in a way that's going to be beneficial to you. MSC Cruises is a great one that looks at the loyalty of other cruise lines and they match your loyalty. So that's one way to make that loyalty sting feel a little less. I do believe that you should try more than one cruise line. If you don't, I don't think that's a big deal. I don't think that's going to hurt you or anything. But if you want a complete picture of what cruising is, or at least a partially complete picture of what cruising is, you're going to have to try more than one cruise line because they all do it differently. That's what I've learned from experience. At the end of the day, do what you feel comfortable with, but I'm just going to tell you from my experience, I would challenge you to try another cruise line. In the next few days, I am going to lay out my criteria and tell you which cruise lines I like better for those different criteria, so be on the lookout for that. What about you? Have you cruised multiple cruise lines? Are you loyal to just one? Let's have a conversation in the comments. Put how many cruise lines you've been on, what's your favorite, and let's have a nice, healthy conversation in the comments. This is Tony with Lido Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.